Hey guys, welcome back to Halo Canon. This is Toe Freak here today to start off our new multiplayer map lore. Today I am joined by JSA 343 and Mendicant Bias of the Halo Archive.
Hey.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah. And we're basically we're doing two maps to start out today. We're starting out with Relic, and then we're going to take a look at Remnant, the recent remake. Relic in the original Halo 2 was described as simply a monument to Forerunners who fell in the Forerunner Flood War. But more recently, we were told that it's actually a cleverly concealed ship that has been buried in Delta Halo. So how about that?
It definitely makes it interesting because you have a graphical update too. So if you look at the original, it's just like, what the hell is this? And then you look at the remake and it's like, I can see how that's a ship, but before I'm definitely skeptical of that.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, just kind of doing the math in my head. The installation's maybe like 30-ish miles thick, so depending on how much of the ship we're actually seeing, and granted, we've seen quite very clearly in recent lore that Forerunner technology when activated, as Frankie liked to put it prior to Halo 4's release, can kind of shape itself around or move its shapes around. But it'd be interesting to see what this supposed ship actually looks like and how big it might be.
What I think's interesting is that ships reactivating might be some of the anomalies we see in 05 and other installations during Halo 5 and so on.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I can imagine the shock of all those UNSC bases on the rings, and the next thing you know, Foreigner ships are just rising out of the ground and such. Like, that definitely has to be a red flag.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun point to see.
I don't know if you recall back when Grimm kind of showed us the first, or he gave us the map descriptions for all the Halo 5 beta maps. The two that were Forge maps, they were basically said to be like these rough scans of structures that had recently reappeared on Installation 05, like it was kind of repairing itself.
Yeah.
So, add that to the idea that this might actually be a ship. There's some interesting implications for what might be coming in the Halo lore, if not in Halo 5 directly.
And then that makes you wonder, did they gut the ships out before making the monuments, or are these just old hulks that they buried into the ground? And if they're old hulks, who knows what kind of old technology might still be active with them?
Yeah.
That kind of goes back to, was it Silentium? When they head out to the Tarantula Nebula, see all that completely desolate fleet just sitting there, ancient Foreigner tech.
Yeah, how cool would it be if that was actually what this was, one of those ancient ships?
I feel like it's certainly possible. We never quite know when it comes to the Forerunners.
Yeah. I have heard that there was like a piece of concept art that this whole idea was taken from in one of the comments when this was first announced some weeks ago, but I have not been able to find said concept art. There's a piece by Leviathan, who that looks like a Relic as a ship, but that's fan art. I haven't been able to find any sort of official art. I've just heard from fans and whatnot. Yeah, I took a look through all my Halo concept art books, but I couldn't find anything.
Makes me wonder if the Albatross is ever going to come back in some sort of glory, or is that just something we're going to forget that ever really existed?
They only ever crash.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. Where have we seen albatrosses? We've seen them on Relic and Remnant. We've seen it on Sandtrap.
Yeah.
And are there any others? I'm trying to...
Well, have we ever seen one up in the air? That's what I was getting
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The only times we have seen it, on these maps, they crashed. Well, the two crashed here, and then the one crashed quite thoroughly into Sandtrap.
And I know we brought this up before it started, but the backdrop of Remnant definitely reminds me of Reach. It has the very grandiose vibe to it, the tones of the mountains in the background and the sun peeking in over the clouds. I really like the vibe and warmth with a tinge of hope.
Yeah.
that it kind of gives you? Like,
We'll talk about that when we get over to Remnant for sure. Is there anything else anybody wanted to talk about with Relic before we move over to that?
Mostly mountains.
Yes, there's those two mountains off to the one side, and then a moon. It is
Really
quite
maxed
desolate.
out their skybox budget.
Yeah, for Halo 2, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it kind of just makes you wonder how the installations are without their facts covering, because you look at it, it's a monument, you see all these things on it, the drop turret and all that stuff, but what's under it? What's under the structure? Because who knows? We never really see how a Halo's made, aside from Halo 3, but we really don't get into the superstructure. And that kind of makes me wonder, is there some sort of forgery under there that could be used for something? Like, where are all the Sentinels coming from? Like, I just have so many questions looking at the water and wondering what's under it, because we know it's not real.
Yeah, it's like...
we see, yeah,
sorry,
Halo Wars, there's the entrance underneath the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, really, when you think about it, we've barely seen any of the Halos, even, like, you know, with Installation 04, where the whole game is Halo 1, the whole game is set on a Halo ring, but we never see any, or we only see a very limited amount of it. And
now that I think
never
about
even
it,
see
there's
below
actually
it.
A lot we don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
That really...
It's kind of funny when you really think about it. It's like, oh, yeah, we know all about this stuff. And then all of a sudden, then you start thinking about it. It's like, whoa, we know jack shit.
Those structures are taking a beating over the eons, so where are they getting their material from to repair themselves? Are they getting it from the top of the ring? But when that depletes, where they get more from? Where the Sentinel's being made? Like...
yeah, like we've only ever seen the one Sentinel factory during Halo 2, and that's only if you're smart enough to look in the... Yeah, I was going to say, it's like... That's only if you're smart enough to look in the skybox at the right time.
And the funny thing is, the ray shot doesn't even shoot at it. So.
Yeah. That's just how good Covenant technology is. It can shoot things down without hitting it. That's why we're so screwed. But yeah. So I think that's it for Relic. Let's head over to Remnant.
Remnant. The good one. I just keep looking at the backdrop. It looks like an art piece. Like, you could definitely... You could talk me into buying it if it was an art piece. You could definitely sell that. It just looks so worn. Like, it definitely gives off a monument vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a World War II monument in D.C., and I've gone there a lot. And there's definitely a vibe to monuments. And seeing it, I definitely get, like, a feeling of respect. I know it's just weird, but whoever designed that level, I definitely have to give it to him, because I'm just looking at it and getting a little emotion from it. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
They do great with their skyboxes, especially now. It's really bring the maps to life. Yeah.
You want to go over the description for Remnant, Toa?
Yep. Just gonna launch her up here, and that's actually the funny thing with the description for Remnant. It says the UNSC decommissioned this munitions testing complex after safety concerns came to light. I'm almost certain. I'm not even almost. I am certain that is a bit of an error, because that has nothing to do with Relic or with Remnant. I'm sorry. That description. There's no munitions testing complex at Relic. So I don't even know what, like, I don't know, just maybe something they missed when it was on the way out.
I never really thought of it as an oversight. That's funny.
That's the only thing I've been able to think about, because the description that we were given in Canon fodder some weeks ago, or some weeks before it was sometime around the time it came out, but, it mentioned that it's a monument to Forerunners who fell during the final siege of the Forerunner Human War.
I actually have it. A secluded island hidden amongst the coastal regions of Delta Halo, Remnant features a towering and iconic Forerunner megalith, weathered by untold millennia. Resembling other artifacts on Delta Halo, this enigmatic megalith becomes a site of comprehensive research by Libsyn pioneer groups. War Games map. This makes it interesting that they randomly decided this monument to be worth training around. That's funny how things go.
Yep. Well, it's funny that there seems to be a lot of training around installation 05, especially like with, like I was talking about earlier, the Halo 5 beta map descriptions. The two of them were set on installation 05.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can conclude that's the safest installation so far.
I guess.
Last, most of it.
Yeah.
We know what happened on installation 03.
So do you think anything else might have happened, even for this monument, when the ring was deactivated, finally, is it possible that somehow might have started triggering all these Forerunner installations to reawaken, or what? Because I'm trying to understand why now. Like, what's so special now that's causing all these structures to appear around 05, maybe even 03, and so on?
Yeah, it's certainly curious. I know some people, like, it kind of comes to mind, we had with Spartan Strike, and spoiler alert for anyone who wants that. In that game, you have this thing, the conduit, at the very end. It gets activated in some degree and causes portals all over the universe, supposedly, or all over the galaxy, to be activated, though they never really go into any details beyond just telling you that's what happened. But maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
As it's like, it is a curious thing, like why suddenly at the end of 2558 is Delta Halo's suddenly coming back to life. Took 6 years.
And then it makes you wonder what was dead about it in the first place, because they had a damn flood outbreak and they were managing that for untold millennia, and flood rampaging across the ring, and now you're telling me everything wants to activate? It's rather odd.
Yeah, that's a polite way to put it.
And another thing I wanted to ask, what do you think happened to the automated defenses? We know each of the rings have them, so
I can only imagine that it's due to the lack of a monitor's presence, or more accurately, the monitor being corrupted.
But then that's an interesting conversation, because I've actually been catching up on that part of the lore. Penitent seems fine. Penitent actually seems perfectly sane, unlike 343. When he comes up, he's talking, he's telling you, we've done simulations of this string, it needs to be activated now, quite frankly. He seems fine. It's just, why is he still with the Grave Mine? Why was the flood allowed to grow to such a size, and so on and so on? Yeah.
Well, it could be like, it's like, I've been with this guy for the last 100,000 years. Maybe I should finally do my job, or 40, or what is it, 60,000 years or something like that. But the way I've always seen it is because, like, when we meet Regret too, with minus a little bit of stuttering, he is generally still himself when he's infected by the flood. And we've seen that the flood can kind of give back control, for lack of a better phrase, to its victims, if it so chooses.
Yeah.
And how I think, if I recall correctly, in the Forerunner saga in Cryptum, they talked about how, like during the human flood war, that people, like during those early days of infection, people like who were infected would be sent to human worlds that weren't yet infected, and then, suddenly it'd be like, oh god, he's actually infected. We somehow missed that.
Oh yeah, and then they also bring it up with the original rings, how after a certain point any codes would be ignored, any phrases, anything, because they just had no idea if you were infected or not. So
yeah.
That could play a part into it too. I'm just going over the concept map and trying to see if there's anything we could have possibly missed. Like, just looking at it, it doesn't look like a ship, which is weird.
Well, I think that was only for Relic. They haven't really said if that still applies to Remnant or not.